Welcome back to Heartland Mamas. I'm Marie Briel.
And I'm Heidi Henry, coming to you from two separate studios at the edge of the Great Red Divide, where every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 o'clock on Facebook Live, we bring you the news and progressive views that you might be able to use right from our studios to your ears. You can find all of our previous works at Heartland Mamas, MAMAS.com, on YouTube, on every podcast platform, and proudly part of the Demcast USA network.
Now,
So,
don't
Marie,
forget, you can
today.
also get us on
Oh,
independent radio. We have a new show that we are really excited about. It is Heartland Mamas Unrolled on independent radio,
unroll.
and we will put that link out there. But we do a deeper dive on some of the topics that we've covered in the past that we think that might be of particular interest to our listeners. So thanks,
And
everyone.
to subscribers, you'll be able to get that without having to go to the radio link. So if you're a Heartland Mama subscriber, you will get a bonus track. Now, also speaking of Heartland Mama subscribers, in honor of our 200th episode, Marie and I are sporting the new Heartland Mamas t-shirts. It says, the podcast from the edge of the Great Red Divide, that's us. If you subscribe to our YouTube channel, I would say before April 1st. How about that, Marie?
I
By
think that
March
sounds
31st.
fantastic.
You
I
will
think
be in
that
the
sounds
running
pretty
to
good.
win. Yeah, you'll be in the running to win if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, a Heartland Mamas t-shirt. So get on there today, smash that subscribe button so we can send you a Heartland Mamas t-shirt in your size. And we'll be in touch on April 1st. So sign up by March 31st, 2021.
So
So
excited. So then you have
today,
to send a picture, though. There will be a requirement that we want you to send a picture sporting our merch. And this merch, if y'all comment and like it, will be available, perhaps for purchase very soon. So keep on
very soon,
watching.
yes.
So today,
Indeed.
Heidi, you're right. Not only are we celebrating our 200th episode, which is kind of like a big deal, but we're
Yeah.
also celebrating I guess celebrating the Earth. We're also breaking down Joe Biden's first 64 days in office. And it just so happens on the honor of this day for us, he held a press conference, his first one as
For
well.
us.
So we're going to talk a little bit about what we have seen, what we anticipate that we're going to see, what some of the complaints are, and break that down. So I think we were going to start with our gas prices, right, Heidi?
Well, Murray, he didn't address the gas prices, gasoline prices at the pump on the press conference. But boy, I hear it from everybody. It's because Biden's in office that gas prices are so high. Well, that's wrong. It's patently wrong because there's a calculator you can use, and I will post this on our social media today. In fact, I sent it out under my at Truly Heidi Henry uh, Twitter today already. There's a website you can use to calculate how much gasoline should cost by based on the price of crude oil. Okay, so if you remember last summer, in June, gas dipped below zero. It was trading at a negative amount at the pump at trading because it is a commodity. It's traded. Okay, so it dipped below $60 per barrel. So it was negative $60 per barrel. We never got free gasoline. That's not how this works. Okay. It's how it should work, but it's not how it works with speculators because gasoline is very much a speculative fossil fuel industry. So they trade on what you're willing to spend to get to where you're going. They didn't sell a lot of gasoline last year during the pandemic. A lot of people worked remotely. Gas prices were really all over the place, and that's why it went below zero for trading. So today, and I broke my phone, so I had to listen to the radio today. So I actually heard a stock market report, and I thought crude would be up around $78 per barrel based on the price at the pump. Today it closed at $58.94. And Marie, that means our price at the pump without state taxes would be $2.31 per gallon. With state taxes would be about 2.56 here in Illinois. So the fact that when I was driving into Joliet today before our show, and I saw the prices anywhere from 284 in little bitty Seneca, Illinois, to 318 in Joliet, shows me that there's a lot of fossil fuel profit making going on here. Now, remember, on these profits they make, these are some of the top Fortune 500 companies, and they pay no US taxes. So they're speculating and overcharging you deliberately right now to make up for their losses from last year. On those profit margins that they're making right now by overcharging for gasoline at the pump, they will pay no taxes. So people have been really mad at Joe Biden about this. And we had a little glitch when Texas had that freeze and
Which
snow and
knocked the service out of commission
for
for
3 days.
3 days, and then it took
Refineries were about closed for
quite a
three
while to
days.
get it back up, and then you have to get redistribution going, and that takes a little bit
Right.
of time. So even if it took 2 weeks, by now we're past that point where the normal way is that the
Yep.
price of gas will start to drop as the flow increases. And like Heidi said, we haven't seen that. We've actually seen an increase in that.
Yeah. And that's not on the federal administration. That's on the speculators that sell and know that you will have to pay, griping all the way because the fossil fuel industry does not want Joe Biden to succeed because he's a big champion of renewable fuels, okay? So I just wanted to put that out there because when Marie and I talked about doing this show a couple weeks ago and schedule it for today, I didn't, number one, didn't know he was going to have a press conference, and I, number two, didn't realize where oil was trading, where crude oil was trading. It's not up around the 208 high when it was way up over $4 a gallon. We're not there. And it doesn't look like we should be there at all. It looks like it should fall down below $2.50 a gallon. So, but the speculators are not
So
going to
let's
allow that to
start
happen
asking
because it's
questions
bad.
and not blaming the administration. Not that they haven't
Right.
done some things, so
That's
don't
what
jump
happened.
off and be all huffy and puffy like we're blowing smoke up Joe Biden's ass. We have concerns and
No,
critiques, and we will get to them. But we're going to
because we're
talk about some of
progressives.
right. So we're going to talk
Yeah,
about another one of the
we're
issues,
progressives. Joe Biden is not. Yeah.
and I think
So let's just,
another issue that's been really a hot button is the filibuster issue.
yeah.
And what I think people need to understand is the media are human beings, most of them, and they get trained, and it's a part of the business being in media to sell a story. Because the more sensational your story, the more revenue you generate, because the
Yep.
more viewers you have and the more sponsors sell.
Yeah.
Remember, if you're not buying a product, you are the product. It's a
Right.
great way of looking at it. So
If
when we think
you're not
about
at the
that,
table, you're on the menu. Is that what you're trying to
yeah,
say?
yeah, that's a good way of saying it too. If you're not on the table, you're on the menu. I love that, Heidi. And
Thanks.
so we look at the situation, and I totally got thinking about the menu and
What's
being on
on
the
the
table.
menu?
Ha, I
Yeah.
loved it so much. I went, wee, being on the menu
Whoops.
and the
Sorry.
table.
And I know better than to interrupt you. I just
I
drank an
love it.
energy drink and I'm a little
Well,
whacked out.
that's okay, but I did think
So
I remember. So with the
yeah.
filibuster,
Oh,
Joe,
filibuster.
sorry, so all of the media wants to make really big deals out of things in order to get ratings. It's
Right.
like when they did Barack Obama having Dijon mustard on his hot dog or a tan suit. We're kind of back to that. And
Yeah.
Trump played into that. So they always had a cycle in a story. And when we break some of these
Yeah.
things down and the way that the administration has, and you look at the actual data, it supports honesty and that's not what's going on here. And so the filibuster, I think, is a careful tool that was a very deliberate move on the part of the administration, saying that Joe would not didn't want the filibuster abolished. President Biden did not want the filibuster abolished. He believes in the filibuster, and he did at one time, but that gave a lot of us progressives, oh crap, he's not going to do anything about it. No, no, no. And now seeing
Sure.
a pattern of their behavior, it seems to me like someone is far more strategic
Yeah.
than we gave credit for, or I had hoped that would be the case, but I expected the worst. And by being against the filibuster, we need it for democracy, and then, well, maybe there are some ways we can change things to make it better. He's giving everybody what they want. And he's doing it quite masterfully, I have to say, and craftily.
Yeah, surprisingly, I wasn't expecting that.
He,
Murray, we got to a cycle the last almost 5 years of bombastic news cycles, just
yes.
bombast every single time the news came on, every meme,
It's
every
always been
outlet.
that way, honey. I remember
Yeah, but
being in
I don't.
press offices and having people joke that it was nobody died. It was a slow news day, and everyone was bummed out.
Well,
The
and I
sensational
understand that,
always
but
gets viewers.
right. But we had a lot of bombast in the last under the previous administration. There was never a quiet news day, and we all kind of longed for that, the slow churning of democracy rather than the perception that we were driving off a cliff at any moment. Because that's how it felt to me. You said something pre-show about how we all have PTSD. I don't know if I have PTSD, but I know that there was a lot of sleepless nights where I thought, are we going to war with Iran? Are we going to war with North Korea? What are we doing? What are we doing here? Are we going to bomb
And
China? Because
and
that
then
was how erratic
Heidi,
things were.
that is the cortisol from the stress pumping through our body. I think many of us were in a
Yeah.
state of fight or flight, and just very stressed and anxious, and that chemical goes through your body. And now that isn't there, I think some people are still running on that chemical, looking because it takes so much
For a
to have
fight.
gotten through what we felt was horrible, that our bodies are kind of decompressing, and we're not used to a new normal or
Well,
what the old normal was.
mentally, when I heard that Biden was going to do a press a presser today, my brain immediately went to, where are we going to get him at? What am I going to be mad at? And I was so ready. I had pages, like 4 pages of notes of why I was pissed off. And then he went through them, like the press corps must have known what I was upset about, because they went through and talked about all of them. And I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. So, and that's, and I thought, I have not watched a presser from a president in 4 years where I went, oh, okay.
And here's the thing,
So no.
I've lost this subtle. I spent 4 years just banging my head against a wall because nothing made any sense according to how everything has always made sense in the past. And
Right.
so it was very different. And I forgot how beautiful a crafted, planned message can be and how effective a
No.
PR strategy can be done. It's a beautiful thing to watch. That's all I'm saying.
It was magnificent to watch somebody not uh, belittle, verbally bludgeon, uh, eviscerate, answer questions. There was a little bit of an evasion, but
All
mostly
right,
everything
here's the
was
thing.
answered dead on.
Ugh. So we
Yeah.
talked about this. I don't want to save it for critique because here's my two. One, I think he's falling into a pattern like he did when he was running for office. For the longest time, I was like, or when he was first not running for office, but first elected, or during the debates, you heard a lot of
Right.
Biden
Barack
and
and
or
I.
Biden,
Yeah.
Obama and I, Barack and I, President Barack and I, Barack and I, Barack and I, and we're like, okay, well, Barack's not president. You want to be, so you need to say what you've done because it felt to a lot of
Right.
people that he was using that. And I don't think it was
Right.
his intention. And I see it's very easy now to say, well, Trump did this, Trump did that, Trump did this. And it's true. Okay. 100%. But unfortunately, the way people see it, the way it's perceived by, I think, a lot of people is, and not yet, but it very soon will be, well, yeah, so he's not here anymore. What are you going to do about it? Not that
Well,
he's not doing those things, but the phrasing alone, I think, is going to be a problem if he doesn't
yeah.
nip it in the bud.
Well, and as I watched the press conference today, I listened to it, so I didn't see it with my eyes. I heard it with my ears. So as I'm watching or listening to it, all I kept thinking is back to the 2017 CPAC um, conference where Steve Bannon stood up there on stage and said, Donald Trump's main job is to dismantle the U.S. federal government.
Hmm.
And I think
I
I
remember terror. I
with Biden
remember
referencing
literally
someone,
getting physically ill over that. I'm like,
with it
holy
was bone
crap.
chilling.
Yeah.
And 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 we've seen that. I mean, I was telling Marie in pre-show that in the last week I had two packages that were overnighted. Literally took 2 days. One I sent and one I received took 2 days when you paid for overnight, which would never have happened before DeJoy came in, but he dismantled the USPS. He dismantled the postal system with the intention of subverting the election. Now we got to fix it, and it's going to cost a fortune to fix. So, but where USPS is an easy thing to see, there's other things that were also dismantled. And I think that was Biden's point today is, look, I was left with a dismantled federal government where literally jobs were left open so that nobody could fill them, so it would constipate the issue going forward. Every issue.
And we agree.
And
You're
I
spot on. But I guess my point is, I think people like us who are aware of and followed it very closely, all of the horror and dismantling of the government, are not like
right.
most people. I've learned recently that I am not like most people, which is a surprise, but I am not. I know most of you could probably have already decided that. I, however, did not. So, but but I think that the average person who doesn't have as detailed of knowledge or spend as much
True.
time in
True.
analyzing it doesn't understand because it's not in their face. Kind of like,
True.
Donald Trump isn't in their face every day anymore. He's not doing crazy things, and people may not come across him unless they actively seek him out. And
Thank
then when
God.
Joe says it's all his fault, those average watchers are kind of like, "Well, knock it off, dude. You're doing it now." I
And
get I
so
get a feeling that that's what happens.
so I'm gonna give him this. I'm gonna give him 36 more days till he gets to day 100 to cut it out and just tell us how you're fixing it.
All
You know,
right,
you
deal.
get
Deal.
100 days with a mulligan, yeah, a mulligan for the previous administration. But after that, Joe Biden, you just got to tell us what are you going to do for us because Murray and I are progressives, and he wasn't our pick as a president. He was when it came down to time to vote, but we wanted somebody with a different vision, a more left leaning vision, if you will, a more forward thinking vision instead of so mainstream. So it's really difficult for us not to pick at him. you so
Heidi, I think you just nailed it or summed up my brain, okay? It's that
yeah,
with Trump, I guess I take things very literally. It's what I do, it's how I interact with the world. And so, I
yeah.
struggle with that sometimes, and I've sort of come to just expect that when Trump says something crazy and everyone in the world says, "Oh, he won't do it," that it was, "Oh shit, he's going to do it," right? So seeing Joe
Yeah.
Biden do something like the cannabis, right? So everybody was up in arms. Let's break down cannabis for a second. There
Okay.
are staffers. So the,
Absolutely.
the the Biden administration had said that staffers who had used cannabis in the past would not be automatically disqualified from being able to work in the White House in the administration. Now, they said that wasn't a problem. And as they're going through security, as the security background checks are going, they find that even though these staffers came forward and were honest about it, that
Uh-huh.
it was going to be a risk and they couldn't have it, and which really sort of made me go, okay, are we disenfranchising? Why are they doing this?
That
And
was
then as we
hard.
dug, I mean, it was hard. I was like, come on, Joe. I mean, why don't you like weed? Weed is great. I love weed. I'm like, Joe,
Murray's a
what's
weed
wrong? And then I
lover.
thought maybe
Yeah, I'm kind of like, it's not my thing, but it is Murray's thing.
it's a miracle medical thing. That's all I'm saying. But that's
For
beside
my
the point.
husband
So
too. For
I,
my
I
husband too.
really didn't expect the administration to handle it that way. And then as we dug a little deeper, you find that there are several staffers who are working from home, whose clearances haven't been completed. And it feels very much like a slow walk, and they're still working just remotely and not coming onto the Capitol grounds, not coming onto the White House grounds.
Federal
And
grounds.
and if they stay on at some point when it's official, they'll agree to be randomly drug tested, blah blah blah. And that brings up a much bigger issue. But Heidi pointed it out that he was following the federal law,
Right.
and he still found a way around it while keeping true to his word, which I thought was really good.
That was a very unique answer to a very faceted question
Yeah.
because he has to, even though Washington, D.C. has one law, the federal government has another law. So, depending on how, you know, if you're a federal employee, you cannot use cannabis. You can't. That it's against the law. And my husband used to have a CDL license. When he became a medical cannabis user, he had to give up. That was one of the first things he had to do, is give up his CDL license. And I understand that. I don't know that people who are, imbibing at that moment should be driving a truck, probably not a good idea. So I understand that. And I can rationalize it. And I'm really, really, I don't know, really happy that Biden thought this issue from another, from
Or
definitely from outside.
Or, well, no, I think what it is not that Joe Biden isn't brilliant and smart, but Joe has never really appeared as a master strategist. And someone with him is working with him, pushing him. Someone is the master strategist. And I'm going to tell you, it's not Ron Klein. He's a moron. There's someone working with
We're not a Ryan Klein
that
fan.
team that is phenomenal and brilliant. I really think
Now,
so.
I would disagree with you because about the master strategy. And you and I went to go see Joe Biden in Davenport. And if you ever go on my social media, you'll see a picture of me with Joe because Murray's like, yeah, not a fan. Uh, wasn't in the picture. I
I didn't
was, and
want to be in the picture.
I did not have cute hair or a cute outfit on that day. It was just kind of like,
You
we're
looked
gonna go see Joe.
adorable. Shut up.
Anyway, so we went to go see him, and he gave a foreign policy speech. We were at the verge of war with Iran, and I swear if we hadn't had the COVID um, pandemic, we would have been he would have Trump would have taken us to war with Iran. And because that's where he was dragging us there. He was trying to bring about a war. And Biden came out and gave um, this master class in foreign policy. It was stunning to listen to because we'd heard so much blathering, for so long, and all of a sudden you hear cohesive words and long words and words that make sense and no word salad, right? So I think he really is a master strategist in some ways, but he's also smart enough to know when he's weak in an area to hire somebody
Agreed.
that is,
I think he is masterful at hiring people who are experts in their field and entrusting them. I don't know if he's
yeah,
really the strategist
foreign
behind
policy, yes,
it because of his absolute genuineness. There's usually some sort of element of you can feel when somebody there's something there that yes, he's smart, super smart. He is
yeah.
cunning because he wouldn't be where he is today. But I think he's surrounded himself by with people who are experts at that, and that's what's nice to see.
Yeah, that is really nice to see when, I know what I'm good at and what I'm not good at, and I'm good at hiring people that can take my idea the rest of the way or show me the idea of how I should do things. And I really appreciate that. But I want to talk about foreign policy now because one of the goalposts that the Trump administration had set was for us to be out of Afghanistan by May 1st. And when we first heard about this last year, and I said to Murray, I said, there's no way because he's not doing anything to prepare us to leave Afghanistan by May 1st. I said, what are we going to do? Just like we've done under the Trump administration, just bring everybody home and let the chips fall where they may. That is not how you exit. It's not an exit strategy, right? So and W started those wars. What year was it? 92 and 93,
Yeah, I believe
92.
so.
And so we've been at war for a long ass time
We've been
over
at
there.
war forever, honey.
And oh my God, a
It kind of feels like,
generation, a
yeah, yeah.
generation. And It's intolerable. And we shouldn't have been there in the first place. We should never have gone, because those weren't the countries that created 9/11. That was Saudi Arabia. But we didn't go to war with them because they're a trading partner.
Well,
Um,
and we went to war for natural resources and to have a friendlier government that would give us what we wanted. So
yeah,
that's a whole other issue for a
yeah,
long, long time away. But I think
yeah. Well,
what you're
Yemen is
trying to
all about
say
mass
is
shootings.
that his I would like to say anyway that his policy, he had the most foreign policy chops of any of the candidates, any of the
Right,
presidential candidates, I will
right.
say by far. I
By far.
trust Biden on foreign policy 1,000,000%. No question, they're
No
fantastic.
question. Right.
He knows his business, and so it's such a diversion to have someone who would stand up to Putin and Erdogan and the
Mm.
unrest in Malamar, and that's really nice. But I was wondering, how was he going to bridge our own atrocities that we've committed in the last 4 years? Our standing in the world as number 10 for hate crimes. Don't travel here if you're a woman or a person of color. In the world, we're number 7 for hate crimes.
Let me
Pulling out of
tell
the
you.
United Nations. How is he going to reestablish that respect, that trust that, you know what, we're going to do this right? It's
Right.
going to be very, very difficult to do.
Marie, very difficult to do. We have so much rebuilding to do, and it kills me a little bit that we're number 7 for hate crimes. I'm not surprised, especially against people of color, especially since we can't seem to control our guns and how we use them. And I'm not, I'm a supporter of 2A, but I'm not a supporter of weapons of war being marched up and down our streets. And say this every episode we've had recently. The thing I did not miss last year under COVID was public mass shootings, and I realized that mass shootings inside somebody's home went up,
There have been
but we
eh,
didn't
eh,
have
they
those at
they
home.
have gone up,
Just
and
up
I
trend.
was so afraid.
The other
I
day there
told
were
you I thought the Trump
six in one day.
administration was going to claim a victory over school shootings because COVID closed everything down. He didn't, but I was a little
You know,
surprised that he didn't. Mission
wait, the
accomplished,
six
gun
years ago,
control. But
right?
that'll be an interesting test, I think. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, honey.
Oh my God. Well, the mass shootings have been so horrible. But getting back to this thing with foreign policy, this is why we're number 7, because we can't control our impulse. We have no impulse control.
I
We are
really
out
think
of control.
we've talked about this before. I think that 60% of the nation needs a timeout. That they're not grown up enough to have social media or internet access, except what we describe as ready to retrain the brain and then move forward. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, listen, all the times I've given people a smackdown on Facebook.
And you know
Um,
something, Heidi? Yeah, you're in trouble. You know
I
something
am.
that I find really interesting is that the United States is always 20 to 40 years behind Europe. So
Yep.
Europe is doing studies and groundbreaking research and addressing issues that we are facing, but we won't get our heads out of our ass for another 20 years to even start looking at it because we think of everything reactionarily. And so I'm hoping that it seems like the legislation, the planning, the cunning, it's all lining up to be really a good thing
Yeah.
for the nation. And I'm just
Right.
hoping that continues. I am not happy about the research that was done in Massachusetts based
For
on
school
3 and 6 feet. I don't think that's necessarily right. We have
for COVID
CDC saying
reopening
it's
of
not
schools.
right.
Yeah.
Or the CDC said go for it because that was one of his promises. And I just hope we're not rushing that. I hope that, but that's just my own personal
You know,
thing. I could be wrong.
Marie, I teach writing lessons to kids from different school systems every day. Every day I see kids from between 10 different school systems, and we're masked and socially distanced out in the barn, and we're pretty much outside, but we take a lot of precautions, and they express to me their fears. I hear stuff from kids, I swear, It's like therapy out here. And it's not therapy for kids, it's writing lessons. But they confide in me, and they're scared. Now they're scared about school shootings again because they're all going back. They're
I
scared
don't
about
think there's going
COVID
to be a
19.
single child that is under the age of that's under the age of, let's be honest, under the age of 21, a single adult and child under the age of 21 who isn't going to have some sort of severe trauma from the shared trauma that they've all experienced throughout their entire lifetime.
Yes, the duck and cover drills, the active shooter drills. We're killing, we're mentally killing generations of children so that grown ass white men can walk around with weapons, semi-automatic weapons strapped to their back
So
at the
we'll see
Kroger.
what's he going to do. What is he going to do?
What
Is
is
he
he
going to
gonna
push
do?
this? Is
Because
it'll
it's
be
not
very
like he hasn't done this
interesting.
before. Do you remember? See, I don't know if you're old enough to remember back in the '80s when
Oh, I
Miami Vice
remember.
was on, and they used to walk around with the Uzis all the time, the submachine guns, the little
Oh
tiny.
yeah.
Well, the Brady Bill passed, and we banned machine guns. And that was part of it. We got rid of them. And that wasn't even used in the shooting of Ronald Reagan, but it came from that. And the Brady Bill passed, and we had a long period of time of quiet until W let it just lapse and lapse and lapse. And we watched our politicians, just including
Well,
my
W
state
didn't let it
representative,
lapse.
back up,
W
back the
took
truck up.
payouts
We
from
can't,
the NRA and Wayne LaPierre in
of
order
course.
to let it pass. Let's not forget that.
you know so I see some promise that we might actually get something done on semi-automatic weapons. I my dad was a gun collector. He had everything, which defaulted to his children when he passed, and at towards the end of his life he was very remorseful about having that and about having to kill people in World War II. He never could bring himself into harmony with that. That was an abomination to a very deeply devout Christian man. And he couldn't get past that. It haunted him all of his life. And so when we talk about trying to have an assault weapons ban, boy, he was just all over that. And believe me, we not only did he have them, he shot them out here at my farm. Back in my woods many times. I shot them as well. And all they did was trigger his PTSD. It was terrible. It was terrible. And that's when he wanted to get rid of them, when he realized that that was the problem. It was reminding him of his days in war. So, so I'm hopeful that we'll get some gun sense legislation passed for the sake of our school kids, the people who shop at Publix, the people who work in massage parlors, the people who work at the Roundy's warehouse
The
up in
kids who go to
Wisconsin.
school.
Oh my God. Oh
So
my
we
God.
need to
Every
do
time
something
I think about
sensible about legislation,
little
and it
kid.
will be really interesting to see how Joe Biden maneuvers and crafts his way to that legislation. And I think it's going to
Yeah,
be interesting over the next. I'm already surprised and delighted, questioning. But so far, so it seems like it's not. It's actually thought out, planned,
there's a
strategized, and I
plan.
like that. I
There's
like
a
planned,
plan. I love,
strategized, logical world.
he answered,
I like chaos.
he didn't completely duck and dodge about running again in 4 years. He didn't completely duck and dodge voting rights act, but
I
HR
was
one I think
waiting.
is going to have to.
Okay, I was waiting for him to say when they said, "Are you running in 4 years?" I was just waiting for I could just hear old Uncle Joe going, "What the hell are you talking about? I got enough stuff to fix right now. You think I got time to start planning to run again?" Like I swear, I thought that was gonna come out of his mouth, and
Yes,
that was a bad Joe
but
Biden expression. I don't
yeah,
know, but
yeah, I don't know. And him throwing his predecessor under the bus because they're like, well, he declared by now, and they're like, yeah, he needed that much time
yeah,
and more.
that was
That
great. All right, that was kind of a wicked awesome dig. I'm not
that
gonna lie,
was
that
that
was
was a
pretty
really
good.
good dig.
Yeah.
But the thing is that when you have a third-rate reality game show host, that's kind of what they do. They always have to be on. This is a politician who's used to the slow turning wheels of democracy, and
Although
that's
he's
his
making those
wheelhouse.
wheels move pretty darn quick, which I am also impressed on. But that's our time. Gosh, Heidi, we could talk about this forever.
200, wait, 200 million shots in the arm by May 1st instead of
I
100
know.
million.
I
It's
know.
amazing. And
It
next Tuesday,
is.
I'll be fully vaccinated. So
Yay! And we'll be able to be together because I'll be fully vaccinated a couple weeks after that.
so remember, you have to subscribe to our YouTube channel
YouTube,
by March 31st.
YouTube.
YouTube channel by March 31st to qualify for the drawing
For
for
these
one of these.
wicked awesome
And we will
shirts.
have these available online for purchase because
I love them.
people stopped me when I
But
was
be
out and
sure
about to.
to tune
Well,
in,
sure.
like, subscribe, and share. It helps our message get to others, and we break things down in a way that you might not have thought of and hope we give you something new. Every Tuesday and Thursday, live on Facebook at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Also on independent radio, Heartland Mamas Unrolled. Everywhere you get your podcast, Demcast USA. But like, subscribe, share, and if you really like us, you can always donate. So thanks again. We look forward to seeing you on Tuesday. Thanks. Bye bye.
Take care, everybody. Bye bye.
And this is always tricky.
I'm glad you're driving today.
I have to hit end like 3 places.